Hey, look, we're doing YouTube. Hmm. Okay. We're using. Let's see here. Yeah, that's good enough, right? What do we think? Got my favorite shirt on. That doesn't matter. Okay. Alrighty. I hope it's using my nice. I have this very cool microphone, and I would like to. Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up, Jason? Uh, I hope this is a good microphone. The laptop is terrible, so it is charging. But let's put the microphone just a little bit farther away from the laptop. So the Ming Dynasty, huh? It's the last Han Chinese dynasty before arguably the CCP, because that's been 100% Han Chinese. Um, no, I like it. Let's do higher up. I just hate that. I just hate that. Well, we're not testing it to see, to make the world's greatest program. We're just trying to explain the Ming Dynasty to see if it makes a good video when I look back on it later. Um, so the Ming Dynasty, why does the Ming Dynasty arise? Well, because the Yuan Dynasty falls. Um, the Yuan Dynasty was the Mongols. It was founded by Kublai Khan, and Genghis Khan and Munka Khan and all those other Chagatai Khan. Oh, it does the other way. So if I do this, boy, that looks weird. They conquered all of China, and they did it in the Mongol way. And then Kublai Khan had himself a Kurultai on Chinese soil, which is, are even allowed to do that? No. And he declares himself the Yuan dynasty, and um, this empire that was conquered on horseback cannot be ruled on horseback. So it is governed by Kublai. Let's see if I can fix a little bit of that. It's governed by Kublai, and then his government comes up with paper money. What a cool idea. Another cool idea they come up with is hyperinflation. Oops, that's the natural idea that you come up with after um, printing paper money is, well, why don't we just print 1 million of this and then we have 1 million money? Turns out you can only print as many favors as people can do. Otherwise, you're just printing extra stuff that don't even count toward full favors anymore. That's how I understand money, at least. So now the government is run by bureaucrats, which it always had to be. There's like 40,000 Mongols and billion, jillion, million other kinds of Chinese and Iranian people, and Turks and all kinds of stuff. So the uh, it starts splitting apart. You have the Golden Horde in Russia. You have the Ilkhanate in Persia. You have the Yuan dynasty as a Mongol like steppe confederation north of China. It actually stays around for about 300 years. It's conquered by the Qing dynasty, so it lasts the entire Ming dynasty. But uh, it falls apart when they can't pay for anything. And I think it's the Red Turban Rebellion. Yeah, the Red Turban Rebellion. Everybody gets the idea. Chinese people love to get the idea that the world's about to end, and then it does for somebody, and that somebody is the Yuan dynasty. And so the founder of the Ming takes this. I forget his name. That's too bad. But he gets everybody into a big revolt, and they make a smaller, more reasonable China, made only of ethnic Chinese locations within the empire. And they had previously been second and third class citizens, depending on whether they were North or South Chinese, and maybe third or fourth. But Anyway, um, I need to figure something out about that. That looks better, at least. Sorry, this is just me testing out the mic and camera. Um, so yeah, so the Ming Dynasty, and they're a conservative dynasty. They're not trying to be the Tang anymore. The Tang is everybody's Chinese people's favorite dynasty. That's when everybody's really proud of China. And the Tang goes into the Song. The Song is conquered by the Mongols because they have no army. They're apparently is really solid economically, but there's just not a real army there. Anyway, then we've got the Yuan, the Ming. The Ming create the Great Wall of China, which is, if you ask me, a big waste of time. Because what is the purpose of the Great Wall of China? To not get invaded and conquered by another dynasty of steppe nomads. What is the very next thing that happens? They are invaded and conquered by a northern tribe of steppe nomads. They used to be called the Jurchen. Now they're called the Manchu. This guy Nurhaci, he decides, you know what? We should all be the Manchu. Let's not be the Jurchen, because the Jurchen, I mean, that's like, they had the claim to the previous Jin dynasty, but Nurhaci's like, you know what? I'm gonna try and make like a universal Chinese identity, but also it's gonna be us. It's gonna be the guys with the horses and the bows and the arrows. And they're from Manchuria. They're from northeast China, what's currently northeast China. It's north of the Great Wall, and it's in China. That's how good the wall works. It's like borders moved because the guys from north of you took over, and they don't take over the whole of China at first. There's a big rebellion in Beijing in the 1600s, and then the Ming Dynasty loses the city to the barbarians, not to the barbarians. Oh, sick! Somebody's subscribing. How wonderful. Um, so, what was I fucking talking about? I'm not supposed to swear on live. No. So the yeah. So the Qing Dynasty says, "Hey guys," and they're not the Qing Dynasty yet. They're gonna pull sneaky on everybody. They go, "Hey, we're the Manchus. We're just doing Manchu stuff. We're not like the true son of heaven or anything like that. But we'll get rid of these rebels in the capital city with the Forbidden City in it and the emperor there and everything." And the emperor has hung himself and written a poem about how he wants to hang himself, which is doing no favors for anybody. And so the Manchus take over Beijing, and we always say Beijing. The J. ZH is how you say zh. Beijing. Anyway, I say Beijing all the time, but when I'm trying to be extra Chinese, I say Beijing. Um, so they take over Beijing, and they go, oh, all right, great. And the Ming Dynasty is like, so you're going to give us back the capital city? And they're like, no. And also, guess what? We're the true sons of heaven, and you are a false emperor, and you've lost the mandate of heaven. And they go, well, that's awful rude thing to say, and they have a war about it, and it only lasts 75 years. But yeah, that's 1644 to 17, around the 1710s. I forget when it officially like ends. But that's my contention for when Kung Fu Panda takes place, if you've seen that video, is because there is spicy food in Kung Fu Panda 4, and it's red. It's not pepper. Maybe it's pepper, but it's red. And that means it's probably ground up chili. And you know where ground up chili is from? The New World. And that's something that the Ming Dynasty and the Qing Dynasty have unique to themselves. Contact with the New World. One of the other reasons the Ming Dynasty falls is because they decide to end this cool practice called taxes in kind. Taxes in kind, where you get all this stuff, and you get some of it, and you put it in warehouses. So let's say taxes are 10%. That means 10% of all the swords, 10% of all the wheat, 10% of all the grain, 10% of all the China, you know, and they have to put it all in China. And so 10% of the space is storage, right? I mean, that's a lot. It's not literally 10%, but that's a lot of space for storage. And so the Ming Dynasty go like, why don't we just get like a thing we can exchange, like, and everyone's like paper money, and they're like, no, we tried that. And so they go, oh, I know, silver. They're not into gold. They're into silver. We're into gold, and they're into silver. And you know what I mean? Isn't that's interesting? We like gold. They like silver. Crazy, right? You guys know what I'm saying. But they get really into silver. Here's a problem: there's no silver in China. There's like hardly any. They love it. There's a bunch of silver in. Oh, where's that? Where's that place? It's Guangxi province. Um, there's a whole people where they got fancy silver hats, and but you know what they say: nothing goes together like silver wares in China, huh? Anyway, just a fun little bit. So where do they get the silver from? Well, they get it from Chile because the Spanish have conquered Chile, and they found the world's largest vein of silver, and they are shipping it over to Manila. And the Chinese are going just south of Taiwan to Manila, and they're buying the silver and trying not to buy anything else because what do the Chinese need from the Spanish besides silver? The Spanish are fine with this. They have all the silver in the world. They're trying to get rid of it. And where else could you put all this silver without tanking the global market than a place where the only thing that silver does is pay taxes? So there's, millions and millions and millions of people in China who all need to pay taxes in silver. And so they absorb it up, and the Spanish make a bunch of money, and they use all that money to do all kinds of, this is the peak of the Spanish Empire. And then a couple of those ships sink, and they run out of silver, and that means they run out of taxes, which means they run out of government ability. And that's one of the reasons they can't put down that revolt in the capital city. And then the Qing take over, and they keep the taxes in kind thing. They keep the lack of taxes in kind. They're not doing taxes in kind. They're doing taxes in silver, and so they keep doing taxes in silver. And the British get themselves addicted to tea, which now that I've tried more of, I do get because it's nice. But they get themselves addicted to tea, and they believe in mercantilism, which is a fairy tale that British people made up, and it's about like all the nice shiny metals should be should be in your national borders. Why? Hmm. Like, isn't that just like trying to arrest the flow of money? Like, I guess it's a weird thing to believe. It's pre-capitalism. It's just a suspicion that the British have that it's nice to have gold and silver around. And so they're losing a bunch of silver to these Chinese people because that's all they want for the tea. You know, they try everything. They're like, "Do you guys want rhubarb?" And for a season, they do. And then they flood the market with rhubarb, and they're like, "We're okay on rhubarb," you know. Then they're like, "Do you guys want telescopes?" And they're like, "How many telescopes could you possibly give us?" Plus, they had the round eyepieces. So anyway, there's a bunch of they try all this stuff, but they're just selling silver to the Qing dynasty, and they're losing all this silver. And like these this is the time of the Revolutionary War. So there's sailing ships from London down around Africa because there's no Suez Canal yet, up Africa, around India, down through Singapore, up up to the Pearl River Delta, buying the tea with British silver on a British ship, sailing that back all the way under, around India, under Africa, all around back to London. Then they're sending that over to Boston, That's where it gets sunk into harbor as a protest to the British Empire, and they're like, "Guys, come on!" That's why it was such like a screw you to those guys. Like, yeah, you got it all the way from China, huh? Harbor. Um, and yeah, so that was during the reign of I believe that was Chun Long. Chun Long, he was like 1730s to like 1799, I think. So that's who was the emperor during the founding of our wonderful country, and so that's a little bit of Ming Dynasty, Qing Dynasty history, just to for me to look back on and be like, hey, is this too close? Does that sound strange? Is that better? What about this? I don't know. I gotta listen back to this. I'll publish it soon. Thanks for watching. I'll make more lives, and they won't have this horrible light in the background. Okay, and stop. Yes.